Call the meeting to order. We open with the Pledge of Allegiance. Would the clerk please read the roll?
Commissioner Pop,
Here.
Commissioner Bowden,
Here.
Commissioner Brinkley,
Here.
Commissioner Peschel,
Here.
Commissioner Raymond.
Here.
Okay. And could I remind everyone up here to make sure we're talking into the mic today? We're going to be recording this. First item we have here is approve or amend the agenda. Do we have any additions or deletions?
No changes.
Motion
Most approved, Mr. Chair. Second.
and second to approve the agenda. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Motion's carried. Anybody scheduled in their open forum back there?
I wanted to note, Mr. Chair, is we're still making the go-to meeting option available to folks. So looks like I see Chris and Bob and, actually caller number one would be this phone right here. So I
Okay.
don't see anyone else on
So
there.
there's no one there, right?
No, but again, we're still making it available in case people want to use that
Okay.
option, yeah.
Very good.
Yep.
All right. Consent agenda, approve or amend the regular meeting minutes of June 16th, 2020. Item 2, approve the purchase money agreement, security agreement for Score Grant, Tri-County Organics for the purchase of one Bobcat RG 72-inch root grappler. Item 3, approve the 2020-2021 State of Minnesota Department of Corrections work release agreement. Anyone want any of these pulled for anything?
I move we approve. I'll second it.
Motion and second, any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. Next up, Monty, you have a recognition for a couple of our employees today?
I'll just refresh us on the process, is we adopted a new recognition program about a year and a half ago, and it has 4 categories of recognition, and employees and supervisors can submit nominations, and those nominations are considered by a committee of about 6 employees. So those folks, they met and they looked at a couple of nominations, and they felt that the folks in IT certainly deserve recognition. So I was hoping Steve could come up, and I think he wanted to make a few comments. And then we'd ask the folks to come up and then have a picture with the board chair. And I guess I'm running the camera today.
Oh, okay. Morning, Steve.
Good morning, Commissioners. How are we doing today?
Pretty
Good. Yeah, for the first quarter, 2020, I submitted a Customer Service Award nomination, excuse me, to the Employee Recognition Committee for David Michaels, who's our Systems and Networks Administrator, and he's actually on a call with a vendor right now, so he's hoping to be down here in just a minute. And then for Chris Goebel, who was our IT Support Specialist position, who has been moved to the Systems and Network, or Systems Administrator position now. Monty kind of explained the customer service category. It's an employee recognized in this category will have exhibited exceptional customer service to either external or internal customers, consistently performing well above expectations for their positions. The employees set an example for all other employees to follow in serving customers. I can kind of go through a synopsis. I think it was in the agenda item if you'd like. Chris and David provided outstanding customer service and commitment to county staff during the initial stages of COVID-19 pandemic. During a time when IT had unprecedented demands placed on them, David and Chris endured a record number of support calls and went out of their way to assist our user base by sacrificing and risking their own health and well-being. The most impressive accomplishment was getting a previously non-mobile workforce prepared and trained in short order to be successful working from home during a time of uncertainty and panic among all county staff. IT systems were not built to have that kind of strain put on them in short order. It required skillful configuration and changes to accommodate to the security and technology needed to provide county staff with the tools needed to be successful while working remotely. Chris and David worked on their days off. They put in a lot of overtime and did it all with tremendous professionalism, skill, calmness, and grace. As we move forward with the new normal, Chris, David, and the rest of IT continue to handle the ongoing changes necessary to provide a positive working environment for all county staff. Thank you to Chris and David for your dedication and service to Benton County. And David's coming in the door right now, and that's Chris in the back right there.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Okay, I'll make a couple of comments here. I think that's a credit to your whole IT department. There's just two outstanding workers that we had. I know, someone that's challenged as much as I am in that area, and all the help I've gotten from them to struggle through all these go-to and Zoom meetings and everything else. I want to personally thank all of you in your department. I think you've all done a great job over and above the call of duty, and I can congratulate you, and you're a real credit to our county.
I think we should give him a
Give
hand.
him a round of
Yeah.
applause.
Thank you.
So I think do we want one at a time, or both of them come up here? Chris and David? I don't know if we're supposed to.
Social distancing on,
Yeah, we probably not gonna shake hands either.
Right in the center. That's right. Maybe get the board chair and squeeze in, maybe a little.
Get behind them, Spence.
There we go. Thank you. All right, here we go. Just to see it flash. Okay, that's good. Thank you. Appreciate it. Okay.
But as long as you're here, Chris and David, I'd like to certify this is from Benton County Customer Service. Certify that Chris and David have helped Benton County, a great place to live, work, and grow in addition to its outstanding service and dedication by the county board. Thank you both very much. You've been so helpful to all of us. You've listened to tough times for all of us. And I wouldn't have made it without you guys. Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks again, Phil.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you.
Chris is my niece. Or niece.
There, what's next? Oh, sorry.
Okay, next up we have Roxanne. Good morning, Roxanne.
Good morning.
I gotta get caught up to date here with the,
Monty, do you want me to put this on the shared screen or?
No, I don't think it's necessary to do the shared part.
Okay,
with,
Okay.
now I got the sheet. I suppose I should read off the sheet here.
Go
Okay.
ahead.
It says, next item on our agenda is a public hearing to consider a minor final plat entitled Benton Bluff, located in Granite Ledge Township, submitted by Trilogy Properties in Minnesota LLC. Before opening the public hearing, we will first hear a county staff report. Roxanne?
So the plat we have before you is the plat of 40 acres in Granite Ledge Township. The property is located in the far northeast corner of the county. As you could see, Morrison County and Mille County just up there in the northeast. This property, again, 40 acres of property, and it's being split evenly into 4 lots. With the right-of-way taken out, it ends up being about 9.7 acres for each property. There is an existing home on there on Lot 2 that will remain there, so additional 3 homes within that neighborhood. Fairly straightforward plat here. There's quite a few wetlands that are taken into account so that we make sure each property has the proper amount of dry buildable land. There will be a shared access for lots 4 and 3, and then 1 and 2. There is an existing driveway that goes to Lot 2 that will be used for Lot 1. There'll be some sort of a crossover agreement for access to that so that we're not disturbing any additional wetlands. In the rear of the property is an unnamed stream, and there is a little bit of the shoreland district within those properties, but it should not affect the development of those lots. I know I personally have received several comments from property owners in that area, concerns with the development at that intensity of a use. However, Granite Ledge is allowed 8 houses per 40, so this is only half the permitted density. And again, they are 10-acre lots. They're by no means small lots. They are accessed off a county road. There were some concerns from the residents about additional traffic on that road. I have relayed that information to Chris, being that it is a county road. So at that, the reason that it's coming before you as a public hearing is because it's greater than 2 lots. We require that anything more than 2 lots be an additional public hearing at the county board level.
Okay. If the applicant or the representative is in attendance, please give your name and address and tell us what you're seeking. Morning.
Morning, Commissioners. This is Craig from Bogart Peterson Associates, Craig Wentzman, 13076 First Street, Becker. I am the surveyor representing the landowner that's splitting this property. Roxanne gave a good summary of the subdivision. We are doing 4 10-acre parcels like she said, and we're just seeking favorable recommendation or approval today from the board.
Very good. Thank you. Okay, we will now open the public hearing. Is there anyone in attendance who wishes to address the county board on this agenda item? And that can be virtually also. Do we have anyone on the screen that would?
There is a caller on. I don't know if it's related.
I don't know, you'll have to ask.
Is there anyone out there that wants to call in on this public hearing on this Benton Bluffs property? Minor final plat on that? Is there someone out there? You could, if there is, you could give your name and address and. Anyone out there? Final call for anyone wishing to address the county board. Seeing or hearing none, I will now close the public hearing. Roxanne, are there any emails, letters, or other communications to be read into the record?
As I had mentioned before, I did receive several letters and emails regarding the development of that area. Those were presented at the Planning Commission, including the names and addresses of those individuals. And again, that was just regarding additional development in that area and whether that area could support it, and whether, and I guess why we were allowing such a density in that area. But again, like I've mentioned, this is half the density that would be permitted in Granite Ledge Township.
Okay, has the department received any comments or concerns from any state agencies, cities, or townships?
Granite Ledge Township did approve the preliminary plat.
Oh, they did, okay.
Yes.
Very good. Well, I guess that takes care of the next one. The official action was required, and they've taken that action, yes? Okay. The county board will now have time for questions of the staff and discussion. And as a reminder to the audience, the public hearing portion is closed. Are there any questions or comments from board members before we take action on this item? Anyone?
No, just that we discussed at the planning commission, we all unanimously bought it. A couple comments. One was, one lady gave a comment that's gonna raise their taxes up there. They was gonna, and then one comment was they didn't want it to be disturbed like anybody else. They didn't want any more development in that area. But you usually get that,
Mr. Chair, I got a couple things. One is, how far is the granite quarry from these 4 lots? And do these people know that there is a zone potential granite quarry up there? And is this, what county road is this on?
72.
Okay.
that's way in the north.
So here's 22 and 72.
That's north of 22.
And
Right.
isn't the granite quarry off of 6?
6, right.
Right.
This is north of 22.
This is north of 22.
Okay, so this would
Yeah.
be, okay.
Mr.
The
Chair?
other question is, I would have is, because it is granite ledge, granite comes to the surface, is there Anybody test for any wells, if you can find water up there in this area?
Craig, are you aware of whether they've done well testing?
Well, there's existing well on the property already, and they consulted with the well company and didn't see that there would be any issues
Okay, good.
based on the surrounding wells on file.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chair?
Yes?
Well, if you look someplace south of 22, we have a few other more density developments in Granite Ledge like that. I know one comes off of Township Road about 1.5 miles south of 22, so I don't think it's unusual that they have this up there.
Okay. Steve, did you have anything?
It was already asked and answered.
Oh, okay, very good, very good. Okay, if the discussion is complete,
Mr. Chair, I move for approval of this plat.
okay, we have a motion to approve the final plat of Benton Bluff, and authorize the chair to sign. Do we have a second?
Second, Mr. Chair.
And we have a second. Do we have any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. Takes care of that item. Okay, and you've got an update for us, Roxanne.
Yeah, just a real quick run through, and I'll do a more in-depth update during our budget presentation in August. But I wanted to provide you with sort of that half-year mark on our permits, given the COVID pandemic and how that's affected us. As you can see, the permit numbers in blue is in the light blue is the 2020 numbers. Our general building permits are actually up by 20. Houses are up by 10, and I think that was we're 10 above already what was the total for last year. Accessory structures were up by 12, additions were up by 14. Ag buildings have remained just about steady since 2016. So I think that's a positive at this point. Permit numbers, the value of homes has gone up since last year. It's gone up by almost $25,000. Everything else has remained relatively steady as far as the permit values. So just a quick run through those two items. That's all I have on these. Then just run through of some of the other items in our office. Amnesty days, we saw about 550 cars. That's typical for every year. We know that it was slow, and it was slow because we did not allow anyone to get out of their vehicles to assist in removing the items. It was just part of the pandemic plan that we had to have in place. Our employees worked until 5 p.m. that day, so from about 5 to 5.
Wow.
We did lose some of the hauler people to the heat, so that reduced the number of people helping remove items. And then additionally, I think a lot of people spent some of their stay-at-home time cleaning out their homes and garages, so I think there was additional stuff on top of that. We hope in September it moves a little quicker. We'll see what we can do to make things move faster. We know it was terrible, but we did the best that we could, and I'm proud of my staff for sticking around for 12 hours. Census numbers. Minnesota is at a 71.3% response rate. Benton County is at 73.5%. So we are above the state response rate. Stearns County's at 72, just slightly below us. Sherburne's above at 76, and then Morrison and Mille are in the 60s for their response rate. So we are doing well. Boundary Commission. The judge approved the Boundary Commission plat for Watab Township. Now Jay has to finalize the plat, set judicial landmarks, and then the judge again approves another order, a final order on that plat before Mylars are printed and signatures are placed on the plat. Typically, this is about another 30-day process. There'll be signatures from the judge, from the county board, from the Boundary Commission, the county surveyor, and the recorder's office that we'll need to get. So we still can't do that special assessment until all of that work is completed. We have to have those final numbers. We do have until November 30th of this year to finalize and certify special assessments. So I don't think that'll be an issue in getting it on the 2021 property taxes. I don't have a number for that yet, again, since we don't have final numbers. And then lastly, Geronimo Energy had contacted me the other day about the project that's gonna be just south of Royalton. They're making some design changes to move a substation due to the potential flicker that might be at the Langola substation. They said it's unlikely that they'll get flicker, but flicker is like a, I think it's small intermittent disconnections in the electrical waves, or what, I don't know specifically what it means, and the person explaining it to me couldn't explain it fully. But due to that, their design engineers have decided to move the substation. They're moving it 3 miles to the northwest. There will be overhead collection lines, and they'll be within secured easements that they've already secured with property owners. They're looking at a spring 2021 approval with late summer build, assuming they can find a power purchaser to offtake the power. So, we'll just, they said they'd keep me up to date and provide me new plans when they're ready, and they've been good at doing that.
Roxanne, are you still talking to Jordan at Brian
No,
Meister?
I've been talking to Melissa. She's their
Oh, yeah,
permitting manager.
Because I've had a few people call me and say that Jordan, nobody seems to be able to get a hold of him. They were
Okay.
wondering if it was a washed-up deal or whatever, so,
Oh, Melissa, the permitting, I've been able to get a hold of her.
okay.
So,
No, I think, just a comment on amnesties, I think that was the longest line I've ever seen when I was there. I sat in that line for 4 hours too, but I certainly got rid of a lot of stuff I didn't want to get rid of, and just like you said, I had the time to do it now, clean out things, so I had a whole bit of,
yeah.
yeah, that's pretty typical.
Yeah, and we even reduced the stopping with money, with clipboards, all of that. It
yeah.
was still an extremely long line.
Yeah.
Additionally, we have, so the hauler contracts with temporary agencies for staff, and unfortunately, that can be somewhat unreliable in the number of people that you're able to get there that day. And just for liability purposes, we don't have county staff doing any of the unloading. We've had injuries in the past, and so.
Okay, yeah, well, I know it was needed, yeah, I know that much I know. Okay, anybody got any questions? Roxanne, as long as she's here. I guess that's it.
All right, thank
Okay,
you.
so thank you, Roxanne.
Thank you.
Next up, we have Sheriff Troy Heck. We've got a jail inspection report for us. Good morning, Sheriff.
Morning, Commissioners. So today I wanted to bring before you the jail inspection report. As I'm sure you all know, since 1996, we've operated our 102 bed jail facility across the highway. As a condition of operating that, we have to have a license from the Department of Corrections, and to obtain that license, we have to have an inspection every 2 years. The jail is a critical function of the sheriff's office, both from a public safety perspective, in that we need some place to take the people off of our streets that are a danger to our citizens, and also from a liability perspective, we need to make sure that we have the right people doing the right things in there, because we are responsible for those folks that we have in our custody. The fact that we have a 100% rating this time around, and have had that many times in the past, is owed very much to the quality leadership we have at our jail with our jail administrator, our assistant administrator, and all of our sergeants that work over there. They do an excellent job of making sure that the folks we have working are doing the things they're supposed to be doing. And of course, also, we owe this to all the employees that we have working as detention officers, and the hard work that they do in the units every day with the folks that are kept away from people because they're dangerous. And I can't say enough about how much I appreciate all the work that they do over there, and what an excellent job they do for Benton County to keep Benton County safe. So I wanted to take a moment to brag about them, and to point out the fact that, once again, we did get a 100% inspection rating, which is remarkable given the length and breadth of the 2911 code that we do have to follow over there. So I'm very pleased to see that. And the other item that I wanted to point out was the inspector did also take note of the fact that our intake unit could use some redesigning. It was designed in 1996, and back at that time, the way it's set up was a popular way to do that with kind of open areas, not a lot of cells, and that design doesn't really suit our needs anymore. We've had some previous conversations about the intake area, and we've even went so far as to get some estimates as to what it would take to remodel that, and understandably, that had to take a backseat to some of the other needs in the county. But even the inspector here is noting that it's something that we need to keep on our radar, and I look forward to having some future conversations about making sure that we're having the proper setup over in the jail to keep our staff and our public safe. So, with that, I'd certainly entertain any questions that you might have about the inspection or anything else.
Any questions from any board members?
Yeah. What's our enrollment, not enrollment, but what is our?
Indeed. Our inmate count is
think it's
fluctuating
voluntary.
between 30 and 40 these days. We're expecting that that is going to start to slowly increase. The courts are once again holding hearings, and they are in communication with us as far as how we are going to best manage the people that are coming through that are going to be sentenced and start coming over to us. So we're anticipating a handful of people each week are going to be coming in. And the reason that that's important that we manage how those people show up has to do with COVID-19, the way that we're running the intake over there. Right now, when someone comes into our jail, they're placed in the special management unit for the first 14 days they're there, and they're observed to make sure they don't have any signs of COVID-19. Once they've cleared that 14 days of isolation, then they're allowed into the general population. So it's a way to control the people that are coming in to make sure that we're not spreading the disease around our facility.
I got a question.
Yeah. Mr.
So is the staffing level the same for 30 as is for 70?
Yes, it is. We don't have the ability to shut down a unit right now. Like I said, we're using that special management unit as an isolation unit, and we're anticipating that as our population builds, there's going to be more and more pressure on us to put people back into that unit. So we don't have the ability to just close a wing like maybe some other facilities do that are designed differently.
Okay. Any other questions for Sheriff? Not, anything else?
No,
Okay.
that's all I have for you today.
Okay, very good. Well,
Thank you,
Sheriff.
Commissioners.
Okay, at this point, I'm going to recess the regular board meeting to conduct the Human Services Board. Turn it over to Warren Peschel.
Okay, I'd like to call the Human Services Board to order. The approval, amend the agenda. Bob, are you there?
Yes, I am.
We got any additions or to the agenda?
No, I do not.
Okay, motion to approve the agenda.
So move, Mr. Chair. Approve the-
Second.
Second.
Any discussion? If not, all signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign, motion carried. Anybody out there for open forum? Anybody out there for open forum? I guess not. All right, we'll have the consent agenda. Approve and amend the regular minutes of June 16, 2020. Accept the state's COVID-19 funding and approve the Minnesota Department of Health grant project agreement amendment, Public Health Emergency Preparedness Award. Anybody want any of these for discussion? If not, I entertain a motion.
Move for approval, Mr. Chair.
I'll second it.
Any discussion? If not, I'll signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carried. Bob, you got anything out there?
I do not, unless I can entertain any questions from you.
Anybody got any questions? All right, I guess not, Bob. Good seeing you up there.
Yeah.
You're looking good. All right, see, bye.
Thanks.
All right. We'll adjourn and turn it over to the chair.
Okay. Monty Headley, County Administrator, has got some items for us.
George,
Okay. George, good morning.
Good morning. So I'm here today, this is the annual grant we get from the state of Minnesota. All counties in Minnesota get a grant every year of $7,500. And then every county gets an additional amount of money based on the veteran population, estimated population. Our estimated population is 2924. So we get some extra money, so it comes up to $10,000. So I'm here today to get approval for this based on a resolution to accept this $10,000. Now, I normally use this on advertising, newspaper advertising, travel for training, because I have to be accredited to be able to get this grant. This year, I'm probably gonna be spending part of it for a new software system for veterans' data, but I'll be coming back to you at a subsequent meeting to get approval for that. So I want to replace this Veterans Information Management System. Been using it for many years with an updated version called VetPro. It's used in all 50 states. Other counties in Minnesota are going to be transitioning to it. So I'll be coming around with that later in another meeting. But today I want to get approval to accept this $10,000. Any questions about anything?
Anyone got any questions? If not,
I move we approve.
Second.
motion and a second to approve the, and sign the contract too. Any more discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Anything else, George?
That's it.
Okay,
Appreciate it.
thank
Thank
you.
you.
Now, I guess
Jim has the next item.
Jim's here, okay. We're going to go over a project contract with McDowell Company for replacement of the roof over the annex and administration areas of the government center and the lower roof covering the office and lobby portions of the sheriff. Morning.
Good morning. Yeah, you've got the contract in front of you. You also have some diagrams of what areas on the jail and the government center that this project will cover. We've been collecting funds for 5 years or so now. It's time to get this project kicked off. It's definitely a multi-year project. There is a memo from Phil pointing out a couple of things in the contract that you should take note of. One of them is the way their insurance is structured. We require $1.5 million in insurance coverage. They have 1 million, sorry, I'm not an insurance person. They have 1 million in coverage, but then they have another 2 million in general coverage, so he says that appears to cover any deficiencies. And the second thing is for us to point out to them that our insurance is structured a little differently through MCIT as opposed to normal insurance. So I'm just requesting approval of this contract. If I
What?
don't-
No, just, this has been in our capital improvement plan for years, so we've,
It has.
you know,
yes.
pretty much about it. We got some, and we have some, and the funds are available, so,
Yep.
Uh,
Set it aside.
yep, so.
Not leaking yet?
We get leaks regularly, yes. Yes. We're not to the point where the leaks cost us more than the replacement will, but we have a lot of leaks.
Been pretty easy now, Jim, with the heat, just pour that tar there, it'll spread itself. you
Yeah,
know.
there you go.
Yeah. Okay.
A motion to approve, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Chair, it's my pre.
Oh, we have
So
question
did you get
first.
another bid at all or not?
This was done through Sourcewell. Sourcewell is, what did it used to
Right.
be called, Monty? They
So it's a
That's a
collaborative,
darn good question. I can't recall.
It's a company that gets bids from many different companies, and then the lowest bidders end up on their list,
okay,
and then we're able to purchase through
all
that.
right, thank you.
The National Joint Powers Organization, and it's a permissible, you can use them in lieu of doing your own bidding.
Okay.
It's acceptable under the statutes. to use
Okay.
them. They're basically the counterpart, for example, to Resource Train Solutions here locally. They're the service co-op for the Staples area. So you can tap into their national contract.
I just want to make sure we had more than one
Yep.
bid, so,
Yep.
okay, thank you.
Very good. Okay, now you had the motion, Warren made a motion to approve.
I'll second it.
We have a second. Do we have any further discussion? Okay, I'll call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion's carried, and I'll sign it. Yep.
Thank you.
Okay, next up, we have a memorandum of understanding with Stearns County regarding Operation Development Mississippi River Park Complex. That's Monty.
Sure, yeah, that is true. Let's get this out here. This is what I'm hoping will be the final step to achieve regional designation from the Greater Minnesota Parks and Trails Commission. I think they're tough customers. So this MOU was drafted by the Stearns County Attorney's Office, and it's presented to you at the request of the Stearns County Park Department. And also, again, the Greater Minnesota Parks and Trails Commission requested it as sort of like the final step to get regional designation. I provided it to Phil Miller for his review. He signed off on it. You know, it doesn't really, frankly, have a lot of substance in it. It basically says, you know, we're going to cooperate, we're going to work together. But it does say that we're going to fund our own stuff, and they're going to fund their own stuff. And each county is responsible for managing their own parks. And that was pretty important to me to make that clear that, for example, their approval wasn't necessary for us to do something with our park or vice versa. That we maintain that independence. Ben is the park director for Stearns County. I asked him to run this by the Parks and Trails Commission. They say it looks good, so it seems like it's fine. So again, it just sort of makes some general expressions that we're going to cooperate, communicate, work together, and so on and so forth. But it does, again, maintain that notion of independence for each county. So,
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
Will that maintain that our grant funding, will that be a joint adventure, or will that be a separate too?
I don't have an answer for you there. If the Parks and Trails Commission will expect a joint application on behalf of both counties. So let's just say, for example, we have a project we want to do at Bend the River. Do we need to submit a joint application? I don't have an answer for you on that quick question.
And
I don't know.
from what I understanding and sitting on the park commission, that I don't think that'll be a problem,
Yeah.
working together with Stearns County. We kind of got an agreement that they want this land purchased and stuff like that now.
Sure.
And I think it's a great idea.
Sure. You know, I think for better or worse, this relationship with Stearns was necessary to get this regional designation.
Right.
Without it, it wasn't going to happen. So it does create maybe some connections that we'll need to cooperate with him in the future, but that's the price we pay, I think, to get the regional designation.
One more thing, Mr. Chair, is that with the regional designation, and you look where Stearns County's river, what they call it, Riverside Park or Riverview?
Mississippi River Park, yeah.
And you look where ours is, the amount of traffic we got on Highway 10 with the signs that'll become as a regional designation is gonna make us a lot more visible by getting on the regional designation. So I think that's a good deal for us too. So with that.
That's all I had, yeah.
Yeah, I move for approval of this.
Okay, we have motion to approve the MOU
I'll second that.
and the second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Thanks.
Opposed?
And I'll follow up and get you an answer on that of
Okay.
what's the future going to look like in terms of grant applications? Do we need to approve something that they want to submit or vice versa? That may be true. I don't really feature that being a big
No, I
issue.
don't either.
So,
And I'm
Yeah.
sure the park board is gonna ask that question too.
yeah, I'll get you an answer on that one. My wager is I suspect there's probably few arrangements like this in the state where two counties have gone together. It's probably pretty unique, I'm guessing, so. All right, that's all I have. Thank you.
Okay. Very good. Next item we have is commissioner meeting updates. Anybody, who's got some that wants to start?
Sure, Mr. Chair.
Okay.
I only had two of them, and I'll let you talk about one of them. 'Cause
No,
you like to talk about career solutions a lot.
Yeah, well,
So-
I'll tell you, I lost my notes on that one. I don't know where the heck I put them.
Here, you can have them right here.
Yeah, there wasn't very much, I know.
Now, so Benton County Historical Society, we had a meeting at the new house that they purchased. And they got a lot of stuff out, so now they're laying out the projects of what they want to do in this house. And just to give you a heads up, they did ask about more funding from the county, that they're gonna approach us. And I guess I wasn't surprised, but they'll be coming in front of us. And then Career Solutions, of course, we had a joint powers exec meeting, special board meeting. Honestly, I don't know why we had it. You know, it was all about a contract, apparently. That was it.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
and I'll let Mr. the chair talk a little bit
Let
more
me see
about it.
that. Since I didn't. Okay,
See if you can remember some of that
Yeah.
stuff.
yeah,
That's all.
all right.
Um,
Warren?
25th, we had a planning commission meeting. One of them was the Trilogy properties here up in Granite Ledge. She talked about, 8 per 40 up there, but they have to be 5 acres. They have to be 5 acres. Like I said, there's a couple of comments, like I said before, that when people up there, I guess, they figure if we invest land in houses, their property taxes were gonna go up, so I don't know how that works, but whatever. The other one was Kenny Freeze, he requested that's on Lake Station, north of Lake Station, that landscaper, Kenny Freeze, 50 by 157. He wants to put up a shed for his equipment. I think that's that landscaper on Mille Lake Road.
How far north is that?
I don't know. That's right along the highway there.
Is that right past Wicks there?
Yeah,
Oh, it's up that,
Does he
okay.
have enough room there?
yeah. But that's a big shed, so he's gonna put his equipment in there.
Because he has one shut already
Yeah,
up there.
he's got a good business. Then the other one was Joe and Marie Radke. Joe Radke gonna open that pit up. They had some problems back. He didn't close his pit up, so they sent him a letter. And then his conditional use permit ran out. Well, then, so now he applied for a new one. So he's gonna open up a pit until I think September, or till the end of the year, and then he's gonna close it up. I guess was it 5 acres? I think 5 acres he's gonna close it up. So everything, they took pictures, everybody was out there, everything looked really good out there, so. And that was about it at the planning commission, I think, that was in Gilmerton Township.
Yeah, Ed, you wanna go?
Just add a couple, we had a Tri-County Extension Search Committee for a new person to replace Emily, who moved on to work for the state on a more deal, so they're going through first we're going through the qualification part to see if it still fits the bill from when they did her last time, and I think you had to submit them comments by, on the 5th, Friday the 5th, they wanted them done, and then there'll be a search and they'll post it. They're hoping to have somebody in place by the 1st of September, so, I think we got myself and Rick Gilbertson from Benton County sit on there, and then each county's got 2, so we got 6 people on there. And then we had a BEP meeting, we actually met here, and that was pretty much went over the final agreement for the departure with John Uphoff, and the letter for, I think Commissioner Bowerly can talk more on that, the letter going out for the advertising for the new position. They're gonna work with the county and some other people across the state, so, and that was all that I had.
Okay, just to carry on at that BEP meeting, yeah, we have advertised for a new executive director, and we have over a dozen applicants, so that's looking good. And also Sauk Rapids' new superintendent of schools is gonna be on our board, replacing Aaron Sinclair, who resigned from Sauk Rapids. So we'll still have our school
Good.
advocate on that, so we get the skill sets coming out of the schools that the businesses are looking for, so.
Good.
That's all I have.
Okay, see, you put me on the spot here, yeah. But actually it was an emergency meeting called for Joint Powers Board. We had a time-sensitive contract or a grant coming from United Way, and we had to get that done by a certain date. And I don't even, you remember what it was really for? We had to use it, was it for Career One?
It was for Career One.
Yeah, for Career One, yep, that's one of the programs you run over there, yeah, okay. And, yeah, that's what it was for.
Yep.
And then also, we did talk about reopening over there, and I don't know when that's gonna happen, because the question was raised by Commissioner Lenzmeyer and myself, that if we're renting that big space, are we paying rent for that if we can't use it? And that's not the way rental agreements usually work. If you can't use the space because of no fault of your own, we shouldn't have to pay the rent. So anyway, we had a discussion, we're seeing, and there's some contract language there, because it gets mixed up with the VOTEC. VOTEC actually owns the building, but deed tells us what to do. So we're at the mercy of deed on this one, but we made a motion to dig to the bottom. And did the motion say that we're just gonna withhold rent, or we would withhold rent if we didn't get something right?
Clarification.
Clarification
We
on
wanted
that, yeah.
clarification.
Yeah, and I made the motion, so, anyway, that was one thing that came out of it. And that was really about it. And then on TRICAP, you wanna get anything there, or you want me to give it a shot?
Well, no, go ahead.
We can't play the waiting game, yeah, okay. We had this board governance training, and, they got pretty much a whole new board on there, so they aren't used to or skilled in nonprofit boards of directors and their duties and responsibilities and how they run meetings, everything, so. They have had some training on that, and that was another 2-hour Zoom meeting on it, and that's a long time to sit in front of that screen. And after that, then we had a regular board meeting, which was actually our annual meeting. And there wasn't really,
It was pretty short.
really was pretty short, because we were all zoomed out by then anyway, so. Yeah, but I think the one thing that came up was a Little Falls bus facility that we have up there now, and we originally had the estimate at about a little over 1 million, right, 1.08 million, and from the architect, and now the estimate came in at 1.5 million. So that's a big chunk, yeah. So that just left us with some options, and one of them was to ask MnDOT for more money.
Yeah, they pay 80% of it anyway.
Yeah, they pay
They
80%
might
anyway, so,
Maybe.
or we could,
Take a stall out or something.
we could use it, we could use our own money, we could borrow some, or we could just reject them all the bids and start over again, yeah. That's pretty typical options of what you have when you have a contract that comes in over, so.
Yeah, that was the big thing.
Yeah, so, I think that's all I had there.
Just,
Yeah, but how about you, Warren?
that's good.
Boring enough, yeah.
Spencer, I got one more comment on the extension. We did receive an email from Dean Bev Durgan that they're gonna forego their 2% Miranda of agreement increase this year.
Who is?
The University of Minnesota, the extension service.
Oh,
So they see that, counties are gonna need a break, so.
okay, good,
Mr. Chair.
yes.
One thing I know, Jake emailed me, but the Tri-County Solid Waste, they had a meeting on
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that.
West Central Sanitation took over the egg business, And,
Egg bags.
Egg bags, as of June 24th, and half of the egg customers had received 54% of their, and they found routes that are running smoothly. A lot of them are gonna have they anticipate a one-time catch-up,
Yeah.
And because many have not received service for 3 to 4 months, and that was getting all piled up. So anyway, they took it over, so that was, what was his name?
Jeff Bertram?
Jeff,
You know,
yeah.
I
He sent an email. You
yeah,
got the email,
I
didn't
got
you,
the
Jake?
email
Yeah.
too.
Okay.
I think that, you know, they got a good person running this right now if Jeff Bertram's running it. I think he cares about what happens out there and, you know, grew up in the Painesville area and is pretty high up in Tri-County West Central Sanitation, so I think that's helping out.
I think that's right. So they got 180 dumpsters bi-monthly.
Yeah, but they're not doing Benton County yet,
No,
right?
but
Because we're supposed to go to, what,
they're trying to find
Waste
kind of
management or
substations.
something?
They're
Yeah.
trying to find
Trying to
places.
find a host source, somebody to host it.
That's all, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Commissioner concerns, anyone? Not, we got some committees of the whole, I'm sure, right, Monty?
Sure. Okay, we have a few to talk about today. Well, the first one is a request from the folks at Soil and Water to have a meeting on the One Watershed, One Plan concept. They offer a couple of dates for you. Let me open my email myself. And apparently these are the only dates that will work for the folks at Bowser and also SWCD staff. So the choices you have are July 14th or July 17th. Let's see here.
No Fridays.
July 14th or July 17th.
14th works.
14th.
14th works for me.
Okay.
Is that-
A start
Well,
time anywhere between 11 between 11 and 1. So, you know what?
Okay, hang on here.
I have a meeting in the morning.
So would you like to start at 1?
Yeah, mine's gonna last till 10.
Till 10?
Yeah,
So maybe 11?
that's what they say.
Where's your meeting at, Steve? Or is it gonna be through Zoom?
It's gonna be all zoomed out.
Maybe we should go to 11 then, huh?
11 would be fine.
Okay.
So, excuse me, so we're still good with the 14th?
Yep.
What would you prefer to start time? 1?
11.
11.
Oh, 11, okay. Okay, 1. And they anticipate, this is Amanda talking, about 90 minutes. So,
Okay.
so 11 o'clock on the 14th, okay.
This
Is
gonna
that
be
here?
Live or Zoom?
Yeah, that would be here. It'd be here, yep.
Okay.
So we'll have the room set up in the big square. I'll communicate with Amanda to see if they want us to make the go-to mean available for for participants. So we'll have it out there in the event that there's anyone that wants to use that to participate. Okay. 11 o'clock on the 14th. The next one is, I thought we should have a committee of the whole to discuss the federal CARES funding. And also Bob Cornelius, Bob is back with us. Bob would like to discuss some organizational staffing issues with you all as well. So I would suggest if we could have a discussion about the CARES funding fairly soon. Those funds are supposed to actually show up sometime this week. So maybe next week or so, we could have a committee of the whole to discuss how you all would like to see those CARES funding used.
How about Monday?
In addition to Bob's organizational issues. What looks good?
How about
20th?
Monday the 13th.
13th.
Excuse
Monday?
me?
I'll be gone the 13th.
Okay.
13th.
Sorry.
For me personally, I'm gonna plan on being out the 15th, 16th, 17th. That's some vacation
Okay.
time with
20th?
the son.
13th, you can't make it, right?
13th is fine, yeah.
Steve
That's
can't make it.
13th free.
Yeah.
Steve can't make it this
All
week.
right.
The 20th in the morning would work.
Go ahead. The 13th will work, but I can't do it right away in the morning. I will be down in the cities for a couple hours. I can make it late morning probably.
That works for me, sure,
Yeah.
yeah. Bob, how's that work for you?
Yeah, I can make that work.
Late morning on the 13th,
What-
so
11?
11?
11 would
Okay.
give me plenty of time. if
Yeah.
that works, gentlemen.
11 on the 13th,
Okay, that's
so.
CARES call, right?
13th at 11, okay. Two down, I think a couple to go here. Yeah, Bob?
Go ahead.
How long do you think this call would be? I think part of the whole process that we'd like to do is do a quick summary of the report out for the callbacking Kaizen, and then the associated plans in implementing this. So I think we'd probably want 30 to 60 minutes, something like that. I don't know what you plan on for the CARES Act time.
That's really hard to say, probably half an hour or so, but not a super long time, Bob.
So an hour to an hour and a half for the whole thing, that would be fine
Okay,
Okay.
by us.
yeah.
Sorry.
Do we want to bring lunch?
Okay.
Yeah.
I could, 10 o'clock is gonna be early.
10:30?
I don't know if I can make it at 10. Let's, if 11 o'clock's too late, let's make it 10.
10:30.
And I'll get
10:30?
here as quick as I can.
Well,
How about,
we can't expect Steve to change something he has to do.
no,
For
About 10:30, maybe. You doing something?
10:30 better?
I'll make
Well,
10.
we could always just push it to the 20th.
Yeah.
Like, I think I heard, you want to just go with the 20th?
No, I'd prefer to get this done.
Okay. So I'm sorry, Commissioner Heinen, you said, what are you
10:30
comfortable
then.
with?
Okay, we can make it, I'll make 10:30, guys.
10:30,
Okay.
I'll
okay.
make 10:30.
Okay.
All right, 10:30.
I'll make 10:30.
That's great, okay.
that's good.
All right, the third one is, it's probably time to schedule budget presentations. Those are tentatively set to occur the week of August 10th. So usually it takes 3 half-day sessions. So I'm just curious, what would be the best days that week for you all? I think in the past, we've usually done mornings. So like,
Huh?
8 to noon,
I've got the 10th, 11th, and 12th already penciled in.
Yeah.
So do I.
Yeah,
okay. So 10th, 11th, 12th, 8 to noon-ish for budget presentations, okay.
right. Yeah, we've got Micah after that. We should be done with on the 12th by Micah time.
8 to
Zoomed
noon,
anyway.
okay,
Yeah, I know, I'll just stay here and.
Zoom out, huh?
Yeah.
yeah.
So that's 8 to 12, Monty?
Yeah. Probably won't go that long each day, though. We should be done by 11:30, so, but just, you might wanna just block off that morning. Okay, the final one I have is, it's time to do employee recognition for years of service for the first 6 months of 2020. The dates that were suggested are, typically they occur the morning of a board meeting. So Tuesday, August 4th, Tuesday, August 18th. I think we usually start at 7 a.m.
Yep, over
at the sheriff's office and then rotate, go from there. So what Tuesday morning would work best for you all, August 4th or August 18th?
4th is,
The 4th?
I don't.
Okay, so we'd start at 7 a.m. the sheriff's office, August 4th. Okay. Vicki, let's see, budget, I think that's all I had on my list. That's all we had.
motion to accept the committee of the whole, Mr. Chair.
Second, Mr. Chair.
Okay, any more discussion? Not all, in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. We got some committee of the whole set. Any other business to come before the board? Not, a motion to adjourn would be in order.
I move we approve.
So approve. Second.
Okay, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed?
Take a
Motion's
break.
carried.
Yeah.
Now we gotta take a little break. front page over my agenda. Probably threw that away too.
Come on, Spence.
Yeah, I know it. That's what happens when you get cut. There it is.
I'm glad you found it.
Better zoom back in here pretty quick.
I'll give you my iPad if you want.
Ah. Okay. I'm gonna call the Benton County Ditch Authority meeting to order. First item we have is approve or amend the agenda.
No changes.
We have a motion to approve.
Most improvement, Mr. Chair.
Second.
Okay. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried, agenda's approved. The minutes from the last meeting.
I move we approve.
Approval, do we have
I'll
a
second it.
Okay, any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed? And the minutes are adopted. Okay, the next item on the agenda is a public hearing to consider ordering a redetermination of benefits for County Ditch Number 6 located in sections 25, 26, 27, and 28 in Graham Township. Before opening the public hearing, we will first hear a county staff report.
All right.
Chris?
Good morning, Commissioners. So yeah, we're here to consider a redetermination of benefits for County Ditch 6. So I'll just provide a brief report here. And just kind of provide a summary of where we came from. So over the years, my office has received multiple complaints as to the condition of this ditch. And when we began investigating the ditch and what needed to be done, there became the possibility that the ditch had been altered from its originally constructed alignment. This map shows in red, this line was, if you look at the establishment documents, that was the alignment that was described in the establishment documents. But out in the field today, the blue line represents the alignment as it is today. So there was the possibility that maybe some alterations of the alignment had occurred. And why this is significant is because under Minnesota ditch law, we're only allowed to repair back to the original alignment and ditch bottom. So we needed to investigate that. And this led to the reestablishment of ditch records process. And so our hired consultant performed field survey work, reviewed old establishment documents, did some ground truthing by taking cores and probing of the ditch bottom to find where the hard bottom of the ditch was, and looked at aerial photographs. And that process determined the as constructed and subsequently improved condition, and proved that that condition matched up well with the current alignment of it. Now, why the as constructed and subsequently improved condition is significant, because any future repair projects, we will be allowed to go back to that condition that we established. That process also determined the drainage area of ditch 6, which is outlined by this purple line. Now, when you look at the drainage area compared to the originally assessed tracts of land, you see that the drainage area, once again outlined in purple, is much larger than the originally assessed tracts of land, which is this light blue shaded squares. And then back then, as they do today, they looked at quarter sections, so 40-acre tracts of land, and assessed benefits to those tracts of land. Here is a snapshot of the original viewer's report. And we had this out on our website for any of those that wanted to view this. But this original viewer's report identified only 439 acres receiving a benefit from County Ditch 6. Our reestablishment of drainage records identified a drainage area that is 1,805 acres. So, by today's standards and what's commonly done into ditches today is to look at that whole drainage area as possibly receiving a benefit from that ditch. And therefore, a value of that benefit is assessed to those acres. Another way to look at it is if water falls onto your property, where does that water end up? And if that ditch did not exist, what would happen to that water, and how valuable of your land, how valuable would your land be without that ditch there? Furthermore, the original viewer's report established a total value of benefits to those 439 acres of only $8,134.50. I think it doesn't take a lot to know that that doesn't match up well with today's land values. And we could be bound by future repair projects of only being able to expend that much, or not to exceed that value in a given year. So, because of the establishment of drainage records process determined the drainage area to be a lot larger than the originally assessed lands, and that land values have increased since when the last redetermination, or the original determination of benefits in 1905, I'm recommending that we have this public hearing today to receive public testimony, and then consider ordering a redetermination of benefits. And so there's two things. After the public hearing is closed, I recommend ordering the redetermination and appointing viewers. And that concludes my staff report at this time.
Okay. Write something down here.
So I have one more slide, I guess. Are there any questions?
Okay, yeah. Any questions by anyone?
So, Chris, the ditch is gonna be where it is today. We're not going to put it back to where the original one.
Correct. So the benefit of that reestablishment is that we said, yep, okay, the way the alignment is today, that is the as constructed and subsequently improved condition.
Okay.
But we also determined that the bottom of the ditch today, in places, is higher, meaning there is some room or some areas that we do need to repair, and we can excavate back to the original ditch bottom. So we don't have to cut through fields today to move the ditch. We can stay where the open ditch is today, but there may be areas where we can excavate and repair that ditch.
Okay. No other questions by the board anyone? Okay. We will now open the public hearing. And is there anyone in the audience who wishes to address the county board on this agenda item? If so, please give us your name and address and come to the podium. Or is there anyone out there on the phone also? So if we have some member of the audience here who wants to come up.
Dwayne Brenny, Graham Township, Section 26, landowner. Well, there definitely, I would gain a benefit of drainage by improving it. Section across the road from me, there's some blockage there that needs to get removed so the water can drain. But I would think I'm not the only landowner, that there would be somebody else here standing behind me asking, but I know when that ditch got moved to where it was laid before, and one landowner did it, I realistically told him, I don't know if you should be doing that, but it was done to make the ditch straight. I know my dad worked on the ditch when they dug it,
Okay.
and they dug it with horses, so they took the shortest plan. Sometimes that wasn't the best, but, I guess a couple of my questions is, okay, it gets assessed to the landowners, but that's public waters. Shouldn't some of that be public funds available to offset the cost? I don't know. This is a question I got. I agree that us as landowners need to be assessed part of the cost, but, if the DNR controls it, well, that ditch was laid out, what, in 1917?
1905.
1905? And I says, how many times did somebody publicly improve it? It never was done, other than landowners. I know I did part of it years ago, but that was from the ASC office. They told me, do it or you won't be able to do it, so. But, I guess I'm just expressing my opinion. I definitely like to see something done. So,
Okay, very good. Well, thank you.
yep.
Is anyone else on the phone?
No, I see that Michelle and Nadine are joining us by conference call, so they're
Okay.
available by phone.
Okay.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
maybe it'd be beneficial just to confirm if maybe the auditor received any written testimony?
Okay, yeah. Well, first of all, we'll close the public
Okay,
hearing, and then
great.
we'll do that, okay? And then we'll be able to maybe answer the question the gentleman had after we close the public hearing, too. Okay. Final call for anyone wishing to address the county board. If there are none, the public hearing is now closed. Now we will ask, are there any emails, letters, or any other communications to be read into the record? That would probably be you, Nadine. Is she on?
Nothing that I've received.
Okay,
I received no communications at Public Works Building either.
okay. And we haven't received any from anyone, state agencies, cities, townships? Nope. And?
No,
Okay, and there's no official action required by any township on this one, that I know of, yep. Okay, the county board will now have time for questions of the staff and discussion. And as a reminder to the audience, the public hearing portion is closed. Is there any questions or comments from board members before we take actions? You got an answer for the question that came up on the public water? assessment?
Yeah, that's very good. So public water does have a definition in statute, and there is some specific maps that we use to determine what is a public water, and they date back to 1991. If there was a stream or an open body of water that was identified on that map as a public water. And if it was, we would have some extra steps to go through to make sure we're communicating with our regulatory agencies, Bowser and the DNR. And I did not believe that this county ditch was identified on that original public water map, which in some ways is a benefit to the county ditch system. We can kind of move through the process a little bit quicker if we don't have to involve the DNR in public waters. As to the question regarding public funding, that sometimes is a belief that if it was a public water, we could get funding, and that's not always the case either. There may be some grants that are available, but usually those type of grants are highly competitive, and the chances of receiving outside funding aren't always that great. So in general, I do like to remind people when we get these kind of questions, though, that these county ditch systems, it's important to remember that they are owned by those assessed owners. And we as the county are basically just administrators of those ditches. We're not using general levy dollars to do that. It's paid for by those receiving a benefit of those. And by going through this redetermination process, as we pointed out, the drainage area, there's 1,800 acres where those costs would be spread over those benefits as opposed to the original 439. So there is another benefit to having that redetermination process completed. And as some say, make sure everybody's paying their fair share.
Okay. Any other
I
questions?
got a comment.
Mr. Pop?
Mr. Brenny questioned how come there was nobody else here. Over the course of the last probably year and a half to 2 years, I went through the list and I probably had requests from at least a handful to, people on that list that, when are you gonna get to this ditch? It's been a long process since the initial, I think there was a Van Erden that requested it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, since the initial request, so it's been a process, but, the process takes a while because of the lack of things that were done over the course of the last 100 years, not a lot got done, so I think that, we're working on it, is all I kept telling them.
Yeah, I'll add to that. It is our department's goal is that in the future, we can repair this much more efficiently than now that we've completed this process to date. In the future, we can do things much more efficiently as far as repairing and just maintaining the ditch.
Okay. Any other questions? If not, I think a motion would be in order to order redetermination of benefits and appoint the viewers. I believe that's the process, right?
I'll move that motion, Mr. Chair.
I'll second it. It's been 115 years, that's probably time, huh?
Yeah, probably. We don't want to drag it out any longer, yeah. Okay, any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. All right.
Could I, get the name of the person who motioned first?
Commissioner Pop.
Commissioner Pop, and then it was seconded by Commissioner Bowerly?
Yes.
Yep. And one of those, was this the one that had the order that had one of my names spelled wrong?
I already mentioned that to Michelle.
Okay, good, all right.
Two orders, actually.
Two, yep. Very well, very good. Okay, that's it. I think we can go on to the next. Next item, order of reestablishment of drainage system records for County Ditch 14.
All right, if we're ready for that one. Okay, so County Ditch 14, similarly to County Ditch 6, we have received, although no formal petitions, we have received complaints over the years that have caused my office to investigate the ditch. And then, once again, starting to investigate it, we've discovered that there are no good as-built drawings or records to show what that condition of that ditch was immediately after constructed. Once again, we're back to, we need to know what that as-constructed and subsequently improved condition is. So, at this point, we would like to initiate the process to reestablish the drainage records. And just like County Ditch 6, we will say that this is the constructed, or we will determine what is the constructed alignment and what the elevation of the ditch bottom should be. So any future repair projects, we have that documentation to go back to. So we have a couple things that we're going to do as a part of the process today. So we're going to initiate a reestablishment of drainage system records, and that will be accomplished by adopting the findings in order that, once again, Michelle had prepared. And this findings in order would appoint me as the county ditch engineer and give me authority to oversee Houston Engineering to complete the preliminary engineering report. A draft of that report was attached to your agenda item for your review. And then, but this order would also authorize the completion of that report. So we would make that a final report and bring that back for a future hearing. I guess we're that's the second step of this process. So we will authorize appointing me as the county ditch engineer, and then authorize initiating the public drainage system records report. Since we've already have a draft report, we will go ahead and accept that report as the second step of this process. And then we will set a public hearing on that report. County Ditch 6, if you think back, we spread this out over multiple meetings. So we're trying to combine a couple steps at this same meeting so we can kind of expedite this process and keep things moving. So the first thing would be to review the findings in order to establish or initiate the establishment of drainage system records.
Okay,
So I think that would be the first action.
yep.
Motion to approve, Mr. Chair.
Second.
Motion and second to approve the reestablishment of the drainage system records, County Ditch 14.
Chris, that's in Maywood Township. How long is that one? Is that 4 or 5 miles?
Yes, it is. So it starts north of Oak Park, north of Highway 23.
So it's a
and-
complex one.
Yeah.
It is.
Mhm. And then it actually empties into County Ditch 9, just south of it, so. So yeah, and it has multiple branches. It has about 5 branches on this ditch as well. That was part of the initial engineering report.
Does that one end up in St. Francis eventually?
Eventually it does. County Ditch 9 does end up into the St. Francis River.
So is this gonna impact County Ditch 9 then?
Initial discussions with Houston Engineering is, once we get to the southern parts of that ditch that does seem to be gaining quite a bit of fall, we think that we can move forward with a future repair project and not be a detriment to County Ditch 9. But I wouldn't be surprised if once we complete the repair on 14, if we see more requests of Ditch 9. I mean, water, where does water go? It goes downhill. So we think that we can make some repairs and receive some benefit from Ditch 14 without having to look at Ditch 9 at
Okay,
this time.
thanks.
Okay, we had a motion and a second. Right. Any more discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. What'd you say, I'm muted?
Somebody said unmuted.
Oh, yeah, I don't think so.
That's that Zoom again.
Yeah.
Somebody's zooming out.
And then we also need a motion to appoint the county engineer as the,
Well, that happened as part of the first findings in
Okay.
order. Now, the second action would be to accept this reestablishment
Okay.
of drainage system records. And that order also establishes or sets a public hearing date.
oh, yep.
So we can have we will hear a presentation on that report and have public testimony on this report. So I get to say at this time, I guess we would look at possible public hearing dates. My recommendation would be to look at August 18th. That's a regularly scheduled board meeting day, and have a ditch authority meeting that day as well. That gives us a little over a month to send out notifications and publications for a public hearing.
Very good. We need a motion to that effect, don't we? Okay,
So I'll make a motion that we accept the public record and ask for a public hearing to be declared on August 18th.
I'll second that.
okay, any more discussion?
At 10 o'clock?
Yep,
We'll do the same like we did this time, yeah.
yeah. Okay, and I'll call the question, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Motion's carried. And got anything else for ditch authority today for us?
No, not,
Michelle,
I didn't,
Did you also address potentially holding a public hearing for the redetermination of benefits on Ditch 14?
we did not. So, okay,
Go back a step.
yeah. So since we do have the initial engineer's report to establish that as constructed subsequently improved condition, it is conceivable and very likely that a redetermination of benefits may be needed for this one as well, since we're still operating off the original viewer's report. So if the board chooses, that is a possibility that we could also have a public hearing on a redetermination of benefits on that same date as we accept this reestablishment of drainage records report. So if that's something the board chooses, Michelle, help me out. Was that part of that second order, or we would need an additional action for that?
So I did add language in that initial order directing the reestablishment. I did add some language in there talking about areas that have been identified in that preliminary report that you just accepted that are not currently included. And then I did add some language in the order portion that allows you to have a public hearing to order potentially the redetermination of benefits. So you can make a second motion, and that would be included in that order.
So if that is desirable by the county board, we would have a public hearing to hear testimony and then accept this engineer's report, and then we would have a second public hearing on that same day to hear public testimony, and then order the reestablish, or the redetermination of benefits and appoint viewers for ditch 14.
Mr.
Yes.
Chair, which one has to come first?
The accepting the reestablishment of records report.
Okay.
We did that.
Okay. That was my only question. Make sure that we did it correctly.
Mr. Chair, I move that we have a public hearing following the first public hearing to do the reestablishment of benefits at, say, 10:30.
I'll second that one.
On August 18th, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep, August 18th.
Is there any discussion from anyone? Anybody got that straight? So, all right, I'll call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion's carried. And that take care of everything? No?
So Chris, going back to ditch 6, are we gonna be able to get this all done so they could go out for bids? Cause, you know, as you know, the winter is a better time, or fall's a better time to work on these than,
That I do not know. So this week I will be in contact with our viewers that we just appointed, and the group that we're going with. They work well with Houston Engineering. In fact, what I've been told is a lot of the work that Houston has already accomplished, they will use to complete their work, and it may go. I'm hoping that goes a lot quicker than our last redetermination of benefits that we had. And so I don't have a good answer for you right now. It all depends on how quick that they can complete their work.
well, the reason I ask is because, you know, a lot of these contractors that do that will go out and will get a better bid if they can work it
Yeah,
into
keep
their
them
off
busy.
part of their season, and we owe that to the people that are gonna be assessed.
Yeah. No, I completely agree with that as well.
Okay, everyone? No other business come before the board. We are adjourned. Ditch Authority is adjourned. Thank you, everyone.